Ice Bears Southern Professional Hockey League team for their support. Their 2023-24 home ice season from October through April includes games with Fayetteville, Huntsville, Roanoke, and more at the Civic Coliseum downtown. Single game and season tickets at KnoxvilleIceBears.com. Rock Solid Sports features Ice Bears Wednesdays with news and updates. Volunteer Radio says, "Go Ice Bears!"
Welcome back to Rock Solid Sports here on Friday night. I'm your host, Griffin Hadley, joined by Riley Haltom here in the studio. We got Justin and Luke as well in the fishbowl. We just got done talking some Vol hoops, Lady Vol hoops, lots of basketball going on this time of year, but there is a week and a half left of football, NFL football. And as you guys know, all year long, it's been Football Fridays here on Rock Solid Sports. And we have a little bit more to get to here tonight, guys, and that's the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl is set. It's ready to go. And the Chiefs, they've done it again, as well as the 49ers. It's a rematch. And we're going to dive in. We're going to dive right into the NFL Conference Championships. We'll start with the AFC, Ravens, Chiefs. Big Red, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, they've done it again. It's 4 Super Bowls in 5 years. Justin, I'll start with you. Instant reactions. The Chiefs are going back to the big one.
I was like, oh, my goodness. Because I picked the Bills to beat the Chiefs, and then I definitely picked the Ravens to beat the Chiefs. And it's just like, really, like, I was so in. Y'all, we do a podcast together. Y'all know how in I was on the Ravens all year.
Oh, yeah.
Lamar Jackson. And then what I saw in the regular season, everything told me Super Bowl, Super Bowl, Super Bowl. So when they scored 10 points in the conference championship game and lose a game where Mahomes doesn't score in the second half, I was angry. When Zay Flowers fumbled it, I was actually screaming.
Yeah, like so was Zay Flowers. He was angry too.
I had to, when they showed the slow-mo replay of, I forget who the player was, when he had that perfect punch out, I was actually like on my knees. I had to zoom out for a second. Like, what am I doing? I don't care about the Ravens that much.
Yeah, didn't Zay Flowers like cut his hand?
He did.
Was so angry.
He did.
Isn't that insane? He's got a lot of passion. But
and he had
good Lord.
He had that personal foul for taunting.
I hate taunting.
I hate that.
Me too.
That call.
I'm like,
that call was ridiculous.
He was maybe a little over the top on the celebration for that, but like, dude, come on.
It's a conference championship. It's emotional.
He spun the ball
real quick.
Like, let him.
When Lamar had that dime after the Houdini act in the pocket, first touchdown for the Ravens in that game, what was going in y'all's head? I was like, instant classic, instant classic, instant classic. And then we saw one touchdown.
When he caught his own pass?
Not that one. When he threw it, his only touchdown pass.
I think it was like later in that same drive.
Yeah.
We had one drive to remember from the Ravens there. And it was Lamar doing hero ball, and it just didn't work after that. From there on, it was like the Chiefs locked in, and we're like, we're not going to let Lamar do all this crazy
It was also playoff Lamar came out. I mean, you have a chance. You have a chance. You're down 2 possessions. You need at least 3 points, and you throw it into triple coverage in the back of the end zone.
Yeah.
In a conference championship game, you can't do that. You just can't. So here's my next point, and Luke, you brought it up. The Ravens were just undisciplined. They fell apart. It was the most out of characteristic we've seen this John Harbaugh team all season.
Absolutely. I mean, going into this, I would like Justin. I was big on the Ravens all year. I mean, I was like, they're going to make a deep playoff run. I can see them.
And everything you saw was like, yep.
Yes, everything. Everything you're looking at is like, yes, this is going to happen. We're going to see them in the Super Bowl. And going up to this, I started to get that vibe, just that kind of like subtle vibe in the back of my head. Like, I can see, the Ravens are favored, but I can definitely see the Chiefs pulling this off. And even last week when I was on, with Chloe and everyone, I was like, I was the only one that picked the Chiefs.
Oh, wow.
And I don't want to toot my own horn, but I mean, I saw it. I could see it happening. There was a lot of factors led up to it, but, the Ravens looked asleep. And, I agree. Lamar, that last pass, there was a lot of bad stuff, of course, that led up to that. But that bad pass at the end was just the icing on the cake. Throwing it into triple coverage, I mean, come on now.
I'm like, no, Lamar, when he did that. No. I hate hearing the narratives of like how he's a running back, all that. Like I've really supported this guy since he came into the league, and then for him to let me down like that, it really just it almost ruined the second game for me. Well,
yeah, we talked about
Makes
this on the
Yeah, you talked about it on Cover 4,
on
Justin.
the Cover 4 podcast. Go listen. But yeah, we talked about this. I seen the Captain Lamerica edits, like all the, my TikTok page was just full of like Lamar and all the talk when he got drafted. Like, this guy's not ready to be a quarterback and he should switch to receiver.
Yeah.
And it has like all these commentators commentating on Lamar. And then it goes to the clip right after he got drafted where Mr. Primetime Deion Sanders is interviewing him. And he says, what are they getting out of you? He said, they're going to get everything I got. They're getting a Super Bowl out of me. And it's just like, I was ready to run through a
Me
wall
too,
for
yeah.
Lamar. I was
That's
like,
what
it's
I was saying.
time.
Like, how could
It's
you
the
not?
Ravens' time. And then it fell apart, man. It's tough. But hey, what we've come to know, Patrick Mahomes, he's inevitable, man.
And the stat that I just can't get out of my head: 6 handoffs for the Ravens.
Yeah, that's
Awful.
ridiculous. Ridiculous.
How do you let
Unbelievable
that
getting away from what works.
Yeah, for not just for this season, but the entirety of Lamar Jackson's tenure
As a
quarterback.
franchise, you're
As a
getting away
franchise.
for what works. Like,
At home, like what?
yeah, so it's
In a
you know.
game where the Chiefs doesn't score in the second half. I mean,
Hey, credit to Steve Spagnuolo and the Chiefs and their ability to be a well-rounded team and what we talked about on Cover 4 as maybe the weakest supporting cast Mahomes had ever had, and here they are. Here they are. They're back in the Super Bowl, and we didn't think this was a possibility. A lot of people didn't. But when it comes down to it, when you have the dream coach quarterback scenario, when you have that rock solid weapon in Travis Kelce, who is a leader, and you have the defense, it's inevitable. You can do it. We saw it with the Patriots with so many years. I saw a crazy stat, guys, that was like quarterbacks to make 4 Super Bowls. It was like not Tom Brady. It was like Peyton Manning and Roger Staubach and Terry Bradshaw. And Mahomes is going to his 4th Super Bowl before any of those dudes went to their first.
Wow.
Oh,
So
my
like
God.
Peyton Manning, Roger Staubach, Terry Bradshaw, like guys that won multiple all-time greats, Hall of Famers. Mahomes is at his age is going to his 4th before they went to their first.
It's ridiculous. It just shows the type of quarterback Mahomes is, man. He's generational. We will probably not see talent like Mahomes is in another 20 years.
Oh,
At
it's wild.
least, at minimum, another 20
I
years.
didn't think he beat Buffalo. I didn't think he beat the Ravens, but that's what great players do. They just make you look dumb.
I think it's hard for me to process that we're in the midst of watching a guy who's going to be in the top 5. I mean,
In the
top
greatest of
3
all time
ranks.
conversation.
Exactly. It's hard for me to comprehend that we're actually watching him play football. We're watching him going into his 4th Super Bowl. It's just like it's unbelievable that this guy's out here at this level of playing ability.
Yeah, any last thoughts about Ravens Chiefs before we get into that second game?
Sad violin. That's all.
Sad violin. Well, I'm sure we'll go back to that because I think Chiefs 49ers was the last matchup fans wanted going into Super Bowl weekend, that rematch and just the same old thing where somebody's just going to win it again. But we got to get to the 49ers and the Lions because this one had some fireworks. It was really everything you wanted in a football game. And unfortunately, experience won this game. And Dan Campbell, we'll jump right in. Dan Campbell's playoff coaching decision-making.
Yeah, I like how you say unfortunately because you've been a big Lions guy. So you've been a Dan Campbell guy all season.
I've been
man.
a huge Dan Campbell guy all season. I've been a believer, and I picked him for Coach of the Year. And who knows? He's probably going to win Coach of the Year. I mean, I guess because arguably
certainly not Matt.
the coaching could be the reason why the Lions lost this game. Like my question is, did the Lions lose this game, or did the 49ers go win this game? If that makes sense, right? Did the Lions give this one away and beat themselves and make the wrong decisions and not put themselves in the best position possible? Or did the 49ers show that, okay, we're going to go and we're going to win this game because we're the best team in the NFL? What do you think, guys?
I think it's a little bit of both, to be honest. And I know that's not the answer you're looking for.
No, that's okay. That's great.
I think it's a little bit of both. I think we're looking at, the Lions who, had a fantastic first half, come out in the second half, they're not playing well. And, to be honest with you, I'm going to put Dan Campbell under the bus here. You have 2 opportunities in field goal range to take a field goal, and you decide not to take it. I think that those are killers right there. But you also have to give credit to the 49ers because they came out, they had a vengeance. They probably got, chewed into in the halftime locker room. They came out and they just, they played their rear ends off. And so they deserve, every honor they get for coming back in that game. But you also got to look back and say, the Lions obviously did not play well, and Dan Campbell made some bad decisions. And so I would give it to the both of them here.
To me, I don't blame Dan Campbell at all. Honestly, I think it comes down to 4 extremely unfortunate plays, and it started with that. It started with that insane Ayuk deep catch off the Lions player's helmet. Like, the Niners had nothing going until that play, and then the Gibbs fumble. Like, what the heck? And then Josh Reynolds' first drop on 4th down. And I'm not even going to mention the second 4th down because I don't even mind that call because it's a long field goal with the kicker and Michael Badgley who's bounced around the league. The 4th play I'm talking about is that 3rd and 10 when Josh Reynolds drops it again. He would have had caught the ball 20 yards downfield and probably had 10 more in him, and that would have jump started the drive and most likely led to points. So it's really those 4 plays. I don't mind the 4th down aggressiveness at all. The kicker is not good. I mean, that was like a near 50-yard field goal. And this is something that Dan Campbell has done all year and been very successful at. And I mean, 4th and 2, with that firepower you have on offense, I really don't mind it.
Yeah, I feel that. I do want to give a shout out before we move into Super Bowl talk. I'm gonna give a little shout out to Mr. Juwan Jennings, man. What a circus!
Yeah,
man. What a crazy catch! How do you pull that?
He's
down,
had a
man?
good postseason.
DFL Juwan Jennings. There was a little play. Brock Purdy gets flushed out. He's got to get rid of the ball, and he just chucks it over the middle of the field. Juwan Jennings, blanket coverage. He lays out flat almost and brings this ball in one-handed.
That boy climbed the ladder.
3rd down, had to get
Of
that
course,
conversion.
it was on 3rd down.
He's the 3rd down magnet.
Mr.
We know
3rd
this.
down. Mr. 3rd down, Juwan Jennings. What a catch.
And when he doesn't have the ball, he's pushing guys into the Gatorade tub.
He is, man. Man. Love that guy.
Oh, I love it. And hey, here we go, guys. Vol versus Vol. You got Trey Smith in his 2nd Super Bowl consecutively.
Jackson, Tennessee native, my hometown.
Hey, he's a dog. He's a dog.
He is.
Multiple dogs coming out of Jackson, Tennessee. And Trey Smith.
Murfreesboro,
Trey Smith.
Juwan Jennings.
Yeah, dude, we got 4 dogs.
Wow.
We got Trey Smith, Juwan Jennings, Riley Haltom, and Justin Clemmer.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
There you go.
Anyway,
Quartet.
I think we're running short, but I got a game for us, guys, if you're willing to play a game. Jack always loved to play some games, so we're going to do some Super Bowl fill in the blank. And we talked a little bit about Mr. Mahomes. This is the question that's been rolling around in my head, and I just had to ask it. If Mahomes wins this Super Bowl, he is the blank best quarterback of all time.
I'm going to go second. I think it's going to take a lot for. I think it's going to take a lot for him to surpass Tom Brady. He's going to need,
for sure.
He's going to need 8 or 9 rings to surpass Tom Brady. And I say this because the whole argument is, you have, Brady who's like LeBron, and LeBron, his whole thing is his longevity. And that's where you're getting with Brady. He was so great, so dominant for so long. Then you got, Jordan like Mahomes, who's just so dominant over a course of time. But what's different about this situation? LeBron never beat Jordan twice in the finals. And that's what we got here. Brady has beaten Patrick Mahomes twice in the postseason. Yeah. It's going to take a lot for Patrick Mahomes
to
escape
that. Do you think he could ever get there?
I think he could. I mean, you see what he's doing. He certainly could. He certainly could do it. Ultimately, will he? It's going to be tough. Yeah, and that's the crazy part, because you look at the pace Mahomes is already on. It's going to be tough for him to. It's still going to be tough for him to take over the spot as the number 1 quarterback of all time.
First of all, I'm surprised to hear LeBron's name, but I'm not unprepared. I'm taking LeBron over Brady. That being said, I got Mahomes at number 2.
Amen, brother.
At number 2?
At number 2, because of the same reasons Riley said.
Luke, what you got?
Yeah, this might be unpopular. I got Brady, and then I'm going to slip Mahomes in at 3. I like Montana.
That's not that crazy. In my opinion,
I didn't think it was too crazy when I had it prepared, and I just look. I don't see Mahomes. He doesn't have. Well, first of all, he doesn't come close to Brady right now, obviously, and he's got to have a lot more years left in him. He's got to have a lot of gas left in the tank. He's got to stay healthy. I mean, obviously. but I'm big on Super Bowl rings, and Montana's got 4 of them. Mahomes is looking for his 3rd, and so I think that's a big. It's not the test, but it's a big test, and to see who's the greatest. I gotta give Mahomes a 3rd.
How about this? I think Mahomes has the skill levels that we used to talk about Aaron Rodgers having. And I think he's had the influence.
I think he's past that.
I think he has the influence on a game like Steph Curry has, and I think he's had a conference domination as LeBron has.
So many basketball references in here. Let me get.
I at least started it.
I'm going to agree with you too, Justin and Riley and Luke. I love your take, but I'm going to put Mahomes in the 2 slot if he wins this game because I think it's unbelievable what he's doing before the age of like 29.
Yeah,
that's fair.
And also, he's the greatest quarterback I've ever watched.
Easily.
Oh yeah, eye test is insane.
Not even close.
Yeah.
Like I think Aaron Rodgers, like you said, could just zip the ball. And growing up, that was unbelievable. Like remembering the Packers-Steelers Super Bowl in 2011 and watching him with the ball.
Yeah.
Like the plays Mahomes is making and the way he controls the game, the way he leads his team. Like Brady, culturally, leader-wise, dog mentality, obviously the GOAT. But pound for pound as a football player, I think Mahomes is more impressive, and I think a lot of people agree. And that's why I think I'll slide him in the 2 spot, because I think pound for pound, eye test wise, like watching old clips of Joe Montana, Peyton Manning, Aikman, all these guys that won a lot of rings, had some really good teams. Mahomes is super impressive.
Yeah,
and that's what I see. So
it's the off script play.
Yeah, we're gonna do one more. One word to describe this Super Bowl matchup that everybody was so pumped about is blank.
I'm going to start it off. I just, it's going to be very, this is not a very outlandish answer. I'm going to say predictable. I mean,
okay.
We go into the playoffs, and I'm looking at the bracket, and I don't see, maybe besides the Ravens. I did see the Ravens having a shot at the Super Bowl, but besides that, I didn't see a whole lot of, other teams that could maybe make a run to the Super Bowl. I mean, you can take a look at, the Eagles and the Bills, but they all had that flaws that I couldn't look past. I saw 3 teams going into the Super Bowl here. It was either the 49ers, Chiefs, or Ravens. And as soon as the Ravens went out, I mean, I was just, it was the way I saw it happening.
Love it. I'm going to say monumental. I mean, we got a team who we've said throughout the regular season probably has the best roster in the league versus the de facto number 1 quarterback. He's been at the top of the pedestal for the past few years.
Yep.
If he wins this one, oh boy.
I don't know. For me, it's like almost deflating.
Yes.
That's my.
It's a good matchup. It's
a great. I mean, these are 2 very good teams, but it's just like you go into these, and you want to see somebody new. You want to see an exciting new team. That's what the Lions were. Yes, exactly.
Give me Bills, Lions. Give me someone who's never won.
I didn't care too much about the Bills. For me, it was like Ravens, Lions, because then you have the
culture.
Then you have the can Lamar do it? Can Lamar win a Super Bowl and deliver on his promise? That was my big one here in the AFC, and then in the NFC, it was like you got these newcomers. The Lions haven't been winning a playoff game in forever, and you got Jared Goff. Can he beat the allegations of being mid? Can he make his Super Bowl comeback? It's all those storylines were coming into that game. It's still cool because can Brock Purdy break the, mid-game manager label, and can Patrick Mahomes become the greatest of all time? Like, you still got some decent storylines in this one. It's just,
but you don't get the Dan Campbell toting the championship trophy.
It's a little
saying the most
inspirational quote of all time, or Lamar just like giving the best one-liner for the next TikTok.
Yeah, it's a little deflating.
I would have loved to have seen Ravens Lions. That would have just been like story.
The post-game media would have been insane.
Absolutely.
Yeah. This matchup is like Groundhog Day.
Great.
That's what it is. Because all we've got out of the AFC for decades or a decade and a half is we had Brady and now we have Mahomes, and there was a couple years in between. It just feels like the same thing is what it feels like to me. So in honor of it being February 2nd, For me, it just feels like Groundhog Day. We get another Niners-Chiefs matchup. We get Mahomes and Kelsey in the Super Bowl once again. But like you guys all said, there's some great storylines. That's going to wrap it up here for NFL Talk. We're going to have more Super Bowl next week because we do still have another week until the big game. When we come back for our last segment, we're talking about the NCAA in Tennessee and the state of Virginia because NIL is a tricky, tricky topic, and Knoxville seems to be the place for change. And Danny White's got something to say. Donnie Plowman's got something to say. Jackson Lampley, Tennessee offensive lineman, has something to say. We're going to talk about all of it when we come back right here on WUTK's Rock Solid Sports.
Volunteer Radio is supported by Fieldhouse Social, University Commons. Hosts a Wednesday night Rock Solid Sports broadcast at 7 p.m. Fieldhouse Social serves American craft food, beer, and cocktails. Featuring UTN Pro Sports on digital TVs around the restaurant 7 days a week.
In the future.
Yeah, absolutely. You look at it, all starts with that Dondi Plowman letter that gets, quote unquote leaked to the media. Where to me the part that sticks out, quote, 2.5 years of vague and contradictory NCAA memos, emails, and guidance about name, image, and likeness has created extraordinary chaos that student athletes and institutions are struggling to navigate. In short, the NCAA is failing. And that is what, that last little bit. In short, the NCAA is failing. That's what we're starting to see. That's where we're starting to see the cracks. As Denny White said, they picked the wrong university to mess with here. He's not going to let the NCAA, this is what Danny White said, he's not going to let the NCAA make Tennessee an example. And that
For their own agenda.
For their own agenda.
Yes.
They did pick the wrong team to mess with.
Talk
they
about, yes.
Of all fan bases and groups to aim your targets
and
on,
leadership
to make your move, to make your power move, whatever it is about NIL, the University of Tennessee with the Danny White and Dondi Plowman, and now we got the Attorney General
the
of the
backing
state.
of the entire volunteer state.
You just picked the wrong people to mess with, man. It's crazy to me that they would choose the University of Tennessee, even with all the stuff that they had last summer, right? The 18 infractions and what was it, $8 million fine, record breaking, right? They already did this with Tennessee.
And everybody
they set
cooperated.
Their example, and Tennessee cooperated, said, yes, this is what happened. We're going to take this on the cheek and keep it pushing. Now the NCAA tries to do it again, and Tennessee says no.
And guys,
we're not repeating this.
Guys, across in the fishbowl, Riley brings up, you don't want to mess with Tennessee. Well, the Virginia State Attorney General joined the lawsuit that Tennessee has filed against the NCAA. That's the state of Tennessee. That's not the University of Tennessee.
Yeah, shout out Jonathan Scarametti.
That is the state of Tennessee. And guys, it seems like this could set a trend. We might not see Tennessee and Virginia being the only states involved.
Oh, like it kind of makes me think about like where this is heading big picture wise.
Yes.
We've introduced NIL players legally getting money. Like, it just screams like, why are we trying to pretend like this isn't professional sports at this point? I mean, you look around the world, there's no like college academies for like the biggest soccer teams and stuff. Like they have like youth teams that just get paid and develop. Like college football is really becoming like the minor league for the NFL, and I think that's where it's headed. And I don't think the NCAA realizes like college football is more like pro sports than they want to realize.
Absolutely, and I do want to just take a brief step back. I love how Dondi Plowman and all these guys have reacted to the NCAA coming at us again. I feel last time we just kind of let them in. We stood we didn't stand our ground like we are this time. And now I feel like people are taking notice of that, and everyone's tired of the NCAA. And so I do think you're right. I think we're going to see kind of a bigger reaction this time around. We're done messing around. It's time to stand up and hold our ground. Absolutely.
So I'm actually in a leadership class with Dondi Plowman. I'm really interested to see what she says on Monday.
That's awesome,
man.
Hey, Luke, you bring up this point, and what I'll say is this: having this leadership team backing our university, and as a student athlete, having Danny White back our department like this says so much about the leadership on this campus. Because if the NCAA goes away, what happens to Olympic sports? What happens to secondary sports? What happens to most of the NCAA and their athletes? And with Danny White in charge, it seems like we'll be taken care of. And that's really cool. And that gives me a lot of confidence for our athletic department as a whole. And I just think that they're not willing to lay down this time. They're willing to start a way bigger fight, a way bigger battle.
And already have.
And they already have, from what the NCAA probably thought they were getting into, because you could have seen the NCAA go the route of Ohio State, of Florida State again, of Alabama, of Michigan, of Notre Dame. But they went with investigating Tennessee and Nico's case. And Tennessee has one of the strongest NIL contingents. And because of the infractions, I'm pretty sure Danny White and Dondi Plowman are trying to do everything the right way. And because NIL is a state-by-state issue, it can get real sticky. So I don't know where this is going to go, but guys, do you agree? You think this Big Ten SEC committee, looking forward in our final minute, you
By the
think
way-
yes or no? You think it's going to be, the decision makers?
Shout out Dan Lust, the big sports law guy on
Yes,
Twitter.
yes.
Said sports lawyers have waited for a long time for this lawsuit, and they figured it would come from the Power Five, just didn't know who. And he said, "Here we are.
Here
You're
we
currently the epicenter of the sports law universe. So this is going to be big going forward. This is going to be a major thing. And I think this advisory committee, right? I think it's going to be a major thing for perhaps if the NCAA does go away and there is some type of new system put together, it's going to come from something like this advisory committee. But I'm more concerned with these lawsuits, man. I can't wait to see how this goes.
By kneecaps.
Hey, well, there you go. NCAA, will it be dissolved in the near future? Who knows? It's starting right here in Knoxville. It's going to be a tough situation. We're going to continue monitoring it, and we'll see you next week. That's going to do it for this week's edition of Rock Solid Sports. Peace.